Welcome to Keeland on Bluegrass Stakes Day into a race that has produced 17 Kentucky Derby winners. This is the 14th day of the 15-day spring meet at Keeland. More than 20,000 people are on hand to see what the Sport of Kings is showcased in its purest form. And hello again, everyone. I'm Chris Lincoln as we welcome you to our Budweiser Racing Across America series as we move ever closer to the first Saturday in May and the 113th Kentucky Derby, now 9 days and 75 miles up the road to Louisville. Working with us are experts on thoroughbred racing, Dave Johnson and Charles C. Canty. They're spread all over the facility here at Keeland. Let's first go to Charles C. Canty in the beautiful tree-covered paddock area at Keeland.
Thank you, Chris. I'm here where the horses will be saddled under the trees, and very soon we'll be seeing the field for the Bluegrass Stakes. And it will be serving once again, as it so often has, as a stepping stone for the Kentucky Derby for at least one member of the field. I've got a good view of the saddling area and the walking ring, but Dave Johnson, I think, has got the best view in all of Keeland.
Can you imagine a setting more beautiful for a racetrack than the rolling countryside, the pastoral areas here in Fayette County? Right here, that's where Keeland is situated. And tradition means so much to the racegoer here. As a matter of fact, there's no public address system or track announcer, so it'll be my pleasure to call this Bluegrass Stakes for you a bit later in the program. Chris?
Thank you, Dave, and we'll come back to tell you the conditions of racing for the Bluegrass Stakes and take a look at the field for the 1987 edition when we return to Keeland in Kentucky. Welcome back to Keeland. It's been rather warm here in Lexington the last few days. In fact, it was warm this morning. It's cooled off a bit now, clouded up. There's a hint there may be a little bit of a chance of a shower during the race today. Let's take a look now at the conditions of racing for the 63rd Bluegrass Stakes. It is, of course, a Grade 1, $200,000 added to the purse here for 3-year-olds who go 1 mile and an eighth. Now, to meet the field for the 1987 Bluegrass, let's go again to the top of the stands and Dave Johnson.
Well, even though only 5 will go postward, the field is deep and competitive. Now, in the recent Wood Memorial, all of the 3-year-olds up there in New York carried the Derby weight of 126 pounds. This afternoon, the weight assignment is 121. And let's meet the field in post position order with jockey assignments and the morning line. We start at the rail with number 1, Leo Castelli. Jose Santos has been named to ride, and 3-1 is the morning line. His best effort was in the Flamingo Stakes at Hialeah. As we pick up the action there, he was 6th down the backstretch wearing Peter Brandt's green and aqua colors. Jean Cruguet was riding that day. This was only the 4th lifetime start for Leo Castelli, so he certainly has a right to improve. As they turn for home in the red cap, that's No More Flowers. Between horses, Talonum will come on. Crypto Clearance. Here's Crypto Clearance getting the lead. Leo Castelli is second at that part. Here comes Talonum to eventually take the Flamingo Stakes. But it was a big effort, and Leo Castelli, who's named after the 79-year-old art dealer known as the Grand Old Dean of Soho Art Dealers, will be rooting along with many folks for Leo Castelli this afternoon. And number 2 is the only stakes winner in the field, War. And he's the local favorite by virtue of this impressive tally that we're going to watch now. It was 12 days ago, and it was War winning the Lexington Stakes with Herb McCauley aboard. Wayne Lucas started off the year with 13 nominees to the Triple Crown. And when I caught up with him last Monday at his barn at Belmont Park, I asked him where this horse ranked originally.
Oh, I think if I were honest and without trying to maybe offend anybody in our camp, any of the other owners, I would say he was no better than 5th going into the spring. But he's a horse with a lot of potential. And on a given day, when he puts it all together, he's got a devastating kick through the stretch. He really can get the last quarter, and he's got the dosage, the pedigree to go 1 mile and a quarter. So he was 5th, then he moved up off the junior varsity, and he got on the varsity with his win in the Lexington.
War will start from post 2. A last-minute entry was number 3, Valid Prospect, and Pat Day rides this long shot, who's 10-1 in the morning line. Number 4 is the starting favorite, Ali Sheba, 7-5, Chris McCarran. And completing the field, Avies Copy, 5-1, and Don Brumfield. You know, favorites have done very well of late here in the Bluegrass Stakes. As a matter of fact, 7 of the 9 past years have shown the favorite to go right on to the winner's circle. So that's a good place for us to start right now and take a close-up look at the favorite for this year's Bluegrass.
Ali Sheba, the $500,000 Keeland sales yearling, is owned by Texans Dorothy, Pam, and Clarence Scarborough, a family with its roots in quarter horse racing. running in many of the top stakes races at Ruidoso Downs. The trainer is Hall of Famer Jack Van Berg, who discovered his horse had a breathing problem after his last start.
Since we've done the work on him, he has been much more aggressive. Wanted to go out there and do his galloping and do his working, and his work the other day for this Bluegrass race was exceptional well. I mean, he run like the last 3/8 a mile, half mile, like the best horse in the country run. So he's done everything we've asked, and knock on wood, if nothing happened to him, this colt, I'm very high on him. He's coming to the game, the race, just about the right stage of the game.
Ali Sheba was on the track at Keeland Wednesday, and Van Berg compared his style to some of his past stars.
He's very versatile. You know, you're like gate dancer, you stayed back there, had to stay back off there and make the one run with him. Bold Eagle had a lot of speed, you know. But this horse here, you can use his speed, as you've seen in the Hollywood Futurity last fall. He was right up on the lead, and when he was in the Breeders' Cup, he come from 10 lengths behind the last horse. So, you know, whatever happens leaving the gate, you can adjust to it, and it helps you an awful lot.
Van Berg has been to the Kentucky Derby 4 times. It looks like with Ali Sheba that this year will be his 5th.
Well, if we come out of the Bluegrass sound and everything as well, we're going to the Derby. I can only tell you this, Chris, that I wouldn't trade places with anybody. I don't think, you know, he may make a fool out of me on TV in front of the whole United States and all the world, but I don't think he will. And he's a good horse. He's legitimate. And I don't know of a horse in the country that I'd trade with.
Still, Ali Sheba has a lot to prove. With only 1 career win in 9 starts and with 5 seconds, the critics have started making comparisons between this 3-year-old and Van Berg's Gate Dancer as a horse who can't win the big one.
Gate Dancer was the greatest horse I ever trained, one of the greatest horses, and I think he proved himself throughout the country, and from one end of the United States to the other. And this horse is a legitimate horse, and I don't think he's a Gate Dancer. I don't think he'll make a liar out of me.
And this is Chris McCarron. He'll be aboard Ali Sheba today. Chris, you've never ridden this colt.
That's right. I've never so much as sat on his back yet, so it'll be a first experience for me.
Do you think this business of him being a bridesmaid is fair?
Not at this early stage. He has had a lot of seconds and everything, but he's still a young colt, and he's still learning how to run. And he's had legitimate excuses in each and every one of his defeats, so we're going to see if we can vindicate those, you know, his reputation as being a nice colt, but see if we can get him across the wire first.
Where do you expect to be in the early going of the race? There's not a lot of speed.
No, there's not a great deal of speed. This colt doesn't have any real natural speed himself, so he's going to want to make one run, I'm sure. But not having started in a while, he'll be fresh, I think, and I think he'll come away from the gate running, and hopefully we'll have a nice position when we get to the first turn.
All right, thanks a lot, and best of luck to you this afternoon.
Thanks, Chelsea.
Chris McCarron, the rider on Ali Sheba, and some of the beautiful farms here in the central Kentucky. This is where it all starts in thoroughbred racing. We'll be back. Welcome back to Keeland, and this is our host at Keeland Racecourse here. In fact, a recent past president of the TRA and the chairman of the board of Keeland, Mr. James E. Bassett III. Mr. Bassett, the TRA, I know, is very, very important to Keeland and what it stands for in racing.
Well, the TRA was created in 1946 to create greater emphasis and a code of ethics of those member tracks. They wanted to emphasize the integrity of the sport and the honesty, and to ensure the public confidence. And it's been a great privilege for Keeland to be part of it since its inception.
Well, you've done a fine job as the president of the TRA, the most recent president. One of the new projects involving the stewards.
Well, we're working on a new accreditation course for stewards that I think will be very helpful, particularly with these new racing states. You know, we have 10 racing states either have legislation or pending legislation for pari-mutuel wagering. We think this is going to be a very constructive step.
Mr. Bassett, as always, it's a great thrill for us to be here at Keeland. A historic moment, and the horses are coming down the stretch now in the 6th race, and you can hear the excitement at Keeland. Nothing else like it, Ted.
No, it's a great thrill, a great day for us here at Keeland.
Thank you much. And, of course, a horse you're well aware of, Northern Dancer, with a great impact on the entire project here at Keeland, the great sales arena here. And Chelsea Candy has more. Chelsea?
Well, Chris, sooner or later, time catches up with everything, and recently the seemingly immortal Northern Dancer was retired from stud duty after getting only 3 mares in foal this year. But as you said, much of his story is linked here with Keeland, both in the sales pavilion and on the racetrack. It was 23 springtimes ago that a small colt named Northern Dancer set foot on this Keeland racetrack and won the 1964 Bluegrass Stakes. Just over a week later, he smashed the record at the Kentucky Derby, going 1.25 miles in 2 minutes flat. Only one other thoroughbred, Secretariat, has ever done it faster in the 112-year history of the Derby. But a brilliant race record, always in the money in his 2 years on the track, would pale in comparison with what he would accomplish in the breeding shed at Winfield's Farm in Maryland, and here at the world-famous sales at Keeland. Syndicated at $75,000 a share, his first crop of 21 produced 10 stakes winners, and a new legend was born. The shares would become worth millions. Northern Dancer has sired 124 stakes winners, 24 champions, and earners of over $18 million in the United States. 41 of Northern Dancer's sons and daughters have sold as yearlings for over $1 million, many of them right here at Keeland. In all but 3 of the last 13 years, Northern Dancer has had the highest sale average by any sire at the July Keeland yearling sale. And now, at the age of 26, Northern Dancer, the greatest living thoroughbred stallion of all time, has been retired. But his legacy will continue. 3 of the current top 4 stallions in the world today are sons of Northern Dancer: Danzig, Liefard, and Nijinsky II, sire of the world record $13.1 million yearling. From the Bluegrass win of 1964 to the second fastest winning time in the Kentucky Derby to the unchallenged champion sire of the thoroughbred world, Northern Dancer, the king of the sport of kings.
Well, they've just finished the 6th race here. Ours is the 7th as you're looking at Valid Prospect. He was the latest in this field of 5. We'll be back in a moment to Keeland.
We could not cover the Bluegrass Stakes without remembering the man who was aboard the winner in 1985. He was a man of enormous class and integrity, a man so devoted to his family that he would decline a mount in a Grade 1 stake if it interfered with a promise he'd made to his child. Don McBeth had affection for the horses he rode, especially Chief's Crown, his Bluegrass winner only 2 years ago.
The 1985 Bluegrass Stakes, the winner's circle, a very natural place for jockey Don McBeth. Don McBeth died at the age of 37 on March 1st of this year after a long battle with cancer. He came from the small Canadian town of Red Deer in Alberta and fashioned a 20-year riding career that saw him on 22,345 mounts. He won 2,764 races. His horses earned over $40 million. It was on February 22nd at Santa Anita Park that Don McBeth received the most prestigious prize given annually to a top race rider, the George Wolfe Memorial Award.
It's kind of been a thing with me with George Wolfe, knowing that he came out of Alberta and that he was successful, and I kind of always shot for that, to try to catch up. Pretty impossible task, but I'm certainly honored with the award, and I want to thank all the people in the bush tracks and all the little places that let me get this far.
9 days later, Don McBeth was gone. His impact on this sport was measured not by statistics or dollars, but by values like courage, integrity, and caring. Values that made him a real friend to everyone in this sport.
Yes, a friend indeed. He was not only a fine rider, but a very fine person as well. I knew him, and I can't speak highly enough about him. He was a very straightforward person. He told you what he thought, and he was very warm and liked people. He was a people person.
Don was really amazing. You couldn't tell by watching him whether he'd win 4 that day or not won a race at all. You just couldn't tell. He'd come back after a race, he'd be the same Don. Watch after the finish of the race. His personality didn't change. He was a very, very fine gentleman at all times.
To me, Don McBeth, one of the finest riders that came around. He was a fine gentleman. He was a good sport, a good loser as well as a good winner. He was liked by one and all.
This particular victory was his most satisfying. He had been replaced on Chief's Crown after a narrow loss in the Preakness. But in the Marlborough, he was reunited with his favorite horse. Watch this great finish. Unlike other jockeys, he was bigger and more gracious in defeat, a key to his depth of character and innate class. You see, Don McBeth didn't make friends, he kept them.
Behind the stands at Keeland, the 5 have arrived who will run for the 63rd Bluegrass Stakes. $227,900 is the gross purse with the 5 starters. And let's give you our first look at the betting public's reaction to this field. Leo Castelli opens at 5-2 with the betting public here. War is 7-2. Valid Prospect is 4-1. Ali Sheba is 8-5. It's a 7-5 morning line favorite. And Amy's Copy 5-1.
People get together around Keeland, they inevitably end up telling great horse stories of the past. Well, in the not-so-distant past, we've had 3 runnings of the Breeders' Cup, and here's a moment they'll be talking about for years.
Hollywood Park was the stage for jockey Pat Day's brilliant performance in the world's richest race, the $3 million Breeders' Cup Classic. 30-1 long shot, Wild again had the early lead, but in the stretch, Day would have to summon all his skills to hold the lead as the favorites gave challenge to the wire.
Wild again, Gate Dancer, slew a goal in between them, and here's the wire. Wild again does it.
For Jockey of the Year, Pat Day, this was his Breeders' Cup Championship moment.
Well, there you see the button, and you see what it says and who it's promoting. And wearing the button is a well-known promoter and consigner and breeder, Tom Gentry, who also happens to be the owner and breeder of War. But you also bought him as a sales yearling. How did all this happen?
Right, Charles. See, all my yearlings are consigned. It seems like the ones that they don't want. Same thing applied to his half brother, Judge Angelucci. We buy him back out of the sale so they don't bid on him. And I thought he was worth a lot more than that, so I kept him.
Looks as though you've been proven right.
Well, in this case, yes.
He was not really very consistent in California, but he certainly found himself a home here at Keeland, a good second, and then coming back to win the Lexington Stake. What made the difference?
His last race was very impressive, and horses tend to need a race over this track, and I was very pleased with his last race. But however, in California, one day, you may or may not recall, he left at the post, literally left, and he was 20 lengths off the pace, and he went the last quarter in 22-3 and won. And incidentally, he beat a colt that won the stake at Hollywood yesterday.
Right. Tom Gentry, lots of luck with War in this afternoon's Bluegrass. Thanks a lot, and back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Charles C. And by the way, War is also the only stakes winner in this field. And on the board right now, War, a good look at him right there, is listed at 7-2.
Well, there you see Valid Prospect, who came into the Bluegrass a bit of a long shot, but the crowd's got him now at 7-2. And I think that might be as much of a tribute to his rider as it is to the horse's past performance. His rider is Pat Day. And Pat, this will be your first time aboard this colt, and you've got kind of the advantage of being maybe the only speed.
Well, it shapes up that way. There doesn't look like there's any legitimate speed in the race, but looking at the past performances on this colt early in his career, it looked like he was coming from 3rd or 4th, you know, going short. Of course, it's going 1 1/8 today, and we'll just have to play it by ear.
You had a good wire-to-wire trip a few years ago in the Bluegrass aboard Taylor Special.
Yes, and what a fine individual he is. I seen him at the barn, and at Billy Mott's barn over in Churchill Monday morning. He's looking real good.
Okay. And favorite next week aboard Demons Be Gone in the Kentucky Derby, jockey Pat Day. Good luck this afternoon.
Thanks,
Chris, back to you.
Thank you, Charles C. And just thinking about with Pat Day, of course, last week, Demons Be Gone, the Arkansas Derby. And you're right, that'll be his big mount and the favorite for the Kentucky Derby. Quick glance at the odds board, and 6-5 right now is Ali Sheba and is the favorite in this race. And we want to be sure to welcome everyone joining us now in Lexington, Kentucky, from Lexington to Louisville, Kentucky, WAVE television, joining us now in the second half hour of our live coverage of the 63rd running of the Bluegrass Stakes from Keeland Racecourse here in Lexington, Kentucky. And the Bluegrass is a mile and an eighth for 3-year-olds, $200,000 purse. We have a field of 5, and we're glad you're with us today. Hello again, everyone. I'm Chris Lincoln as we welcome you folks in Louisville. We'll be heading up your way in just a few days, getting ready for our live coverage of the Kentucky Oaks on Friday, and then, of course, a preview show of the 113th Kentucky Derby on Derby Day. Working with us, Dave Johnson and Charles C. Candy. Let's go to the top of the stands now, and our colleague, Dave Johnson.
Well, it looks like Team Lucas, that's Jeff Lucas and his son D. Wayne Lucas, are going to send out an entry in this year's Kentucky Derby. Well, Wayne Lucas, the dad, I caught up with him last week, and I wanted to know about War. Well, of course, we know that Capote and Tallenham are going to the Derby, but I asked him if War had to win this afternoon in the Bluegrass in order to earn his ticket on Derby Day at Churchill Downs.
No, I think he's earned his right to go to the Derby. If, in fact, you know, Tom Gentry's already got the Goodyear blimp, the rockets, a rock band, the caps, the buttons, the balloons. I mean, he's ready. Declared war on the whole field. So I think that if for no other reason that he's got a great chance to do well in it, and Tom Gentry needs to be at the Derby to complete the whole picture, we got to take War.
And the Lucas stable is something else. We checked with his California headquarters today, and they're now 50% ahead of last year's total. They've earned $1.9 so far this year. We'll be back to Keeland in a moment. We're back at the Keeland race course. A crowd of more than 20,000 here today as the horses now leave their circling area around the trees and head over to the walking ring, and the jockeys will be coming up very shortly. Quick look at the odds now at Keeland on our 5-horse field for this $227,900 Bluegrass. Leo Castelli at 3-1. War, the Lexington Stakes winner, 5-2. Valid Prospect, the late entry at 5-1. Ali Sheba opened as the morning line favorite at 7-5. The people here like him at 6-5. And then rounding out the field, the 5-horse, Aby's Copy at 7-1. Let's join Chelsea Candy now in the paddock. Chelsea?
Well, thank you, Chris. With me is Phil Hoswald. This may not be a face that you will readily recognize, but it will be over the next 10 days as we get ready for the Kentucky Derby. He trains Demons Be Gone, who's the favorite. And Phil, you won the Bluegrass last year in a major upset with Bachelor Beau. What do you think about today's field?
I'd say, Charles, it looks like a very competitive field to me. I think, you know, there's a couple speed horses in there with War and Valid Prospect, and, you know, a couple pretty good closers in Ali Sheba and Leo Castelli, and, you know, Davies Copy will also, he'll be right up front. So, you know, I look for one of the horses, you know, either Leo Castelli or Ali Sheba to kind of come from off the pace and maybe pick these things up down the lane.
Okay. Tell me this, what about Demons Be Gone? What'll he be up to between now and the first Saturday in May?
Well, I tell you, I believe Sunday I'm going to probably either breeze him a half or let him 2-minute lick like 3/4 of a mile, just let him get a good feel of the racetrack, and then come back probably the Thursday before the Derby and blow him out either a half or 3/8, let him go out a half.
Okay. A lot of fingers crossed for you for the Kentucky Derby, and thanks for being with us.
Sure thing.
All right.
Anytime.
Bye-bye. Chris, back to you.
Thank you, Chelsea. You know, I'm glad we got a chance to visit with Phil Hoswald. Of course, if you saw the Arkansas Derby telecast last weekend, we had to hustle out of there and didn't really get an opportunity to visit with Phil, and what a fine job he's done with Demons Be Gone. We also, by the way, saw Demons Be Gone's owner, John Ed Anthony, of the Loblolly stable. He was here today and felt pretty good about coming to Keeland. Little Missouri, his fine handicap horse, won the 5th race here at Keeland with Pat Day up on that one. So it looks like the Loblolly stable team is off to a good start here in Kentucky. And again, Demons Be Gone, the only undefeated colt as a 3-year-old, will be getting ready to head to Louisville. And now let's hear the bugler as the call to the post here at Keeland. The call to the post at Keeland. The horses have come on the track, and we're set for the post parade for the 63rd running of the Bluegrass Stakes. And number 1 is Leo Castelli. Leo Castelli is owned by Peter Brandt, trained by Leroy Jolly, was 3rd in the Flamingo, was 8th in the Fountain of Youth. Leroy Jolly with 3 Bluegrass winners, and he hopes this one could be the 4th. The rider, the 25-year-old native of Chile, Jose Santos, the top money-winning rider last year, over $11.3 million. The number 2 horse, this is War, and does he like this track? You better believe it. He won the Lexington Stakes here, owned by Tom Gentry of Lexington, Kentucky, trained by D. Wayne Lucas, with, of course, the very identifiable Lucas white bridle on the front and the white blinkers as well. And there's War with a little bit of a kick and a buck, and he looks like he is ready. A Keeland sales yearling, that's the little K indicating that. $65,000 was the price. And as always, we want to thank the Daily Racing Form for all their statistical information. On War today will be Herb McCully. He's the Meadowlands' all-time winningest rider. The number 3 horse in our post-parade of 5 is Valid Prospect. He was a late entry for the Bluegrass Stakes, not a Triple Crown nominee. A $5,000 sale purchase, was 3rd in the Key West, was 2nd here at Keeland, an April 15th allowance. He's decided to really step up in class and give him a try, and he's got some class on his back today. No one better, Pat Day, 2-time Eclipse Award winner, always one of the nation's leading money winners. And now the even money favorite for the Bluegrass Stakes of 87. This is Ali Sheba, the handsome son of Aladar. Owned by Clarence Dorothy and Pam Scarborough from Midland, Texas. Our old quarter horse friends are here. Jack Van Berg, the Hall of Fame trainer. A $500,000 Keeland yearling purchase. Again, the story on this horse, 5 seconds, only 1 first. Another winner on his back. This is Chris McCarron, 2-time Eclipse Award winner. The first jockey to ever win more than $12 million in 1 year. The number 5 horse, this is Avies Copy. Avies Copy was 4th in the Florida Derby, was 10th in the Flamingo, and then trainer Dave Casson put blinkers on, and it's really helped this horse. Avies Copy, by the way, is the only thoroughbred now owned by Brown Badgett. Don Brumfield, the all-time leading rider at Keeland. He won the 1966 Kentucky Derby with Cowway King, but he is 0-12 when it comes to Bluegrass Stakes. There is the field for the 1987 Bluegrass Stakes at Keeland, $227,900 in total purse. The winner's share, $148,135. Well, there's the field. We've told you the even money favorite is Ali Sheba. But what about a long shot? Let's take a look.
Today's Budweiser long shot is Avies Copy, a dark-faced son of Lord Avey, who would have been one of the Kentucky Derby favorites back in 1981, but was injured and forced to miss the Classics. In the recent Florida Derby, April 4th at Gulfstream Park, Avies Copy, at odds of 100-1, grabbed the lead heading to the first turn. The surprising front-runner got Brave on the lead, and with jockey Jean Cruguet aboard, was in front by as much as 4 lengths. At the head of the stretch, he was still in contention on the rail in the red and white silks, only to finish 4th, beaten just 2 lengths. Today again, Avies Copy should be near the front end. And don't forget, longshot Bachelor Beau won this race from Flag Fall to That's All 1 year ago. Trainer Dave Casson is pleased by his colt's progress.
Avies Copy has been a very much improved horse since he ran in the Flamingo. We put a pair of blinkers on him, and he's coming up to the race very good, and we look for a good performance out of him today.
The jockey will be Don Brumfield, who's king of the hill here at Keeland, but has never won the Bluegrass. It's Avies Copy, today's Budweiser long shot.
Carrying the red and white colors, Avies Copy, and he is the longest shot in the field here now. The 5 horse at 7-1. Avies Copy, our Budweiser long shot. The horses warming up on the backstretch. We'll take a break here and be back to Keeland in just a moment.
Whoever runs well in today's Bluegrass Stakes will likely be headed to Louisville to join the list of contenders already awaiting the Kentucky Derby. Chris Lincoln took a look at the field and began in a very logical place with the favorite.
Demons Be Gone is the only Derby contender who is undefeated this year. He impressed the clock watchers in all 3 starts this season, including this easy win in the Arkansas Derby. Pat Day had plenty left as Demons Be Gone cruised through the stretch while running the 2nd fastest time in the 51-year history of the race. Then there's the great colt Temperate Sill, who'll try to emulate the Kentucky Derby performance of another Charlie Whittingham trainee, Ferdinand, a year ago. And he got a head start on Ferdinand, who could finish no better than 3rd in the Santa Anita Derby. Here, Temperate Sill runs away from his competition, and Phil Shoemaker, at the age of 55, will be looking for a record-tying 5th Kentucky Derby win. And let's not forget the Bald Eagle trainer Charlie Whittingham, who after a 26-year absence will be looking for his 2nd straight Derby win. And this year, he's co-owner as well. Crypto Clearance and Talentum must know each other pretty well by now. They've been no more than a length apart at any time in their last 2 starts, the Flamingo and the Florida Derby. Talentum took the Flamingo, but Crypto Clearance came back to turn the tables in the Florida Derby here. They both like to come from behind, so Racing Luck will have a lot to do with their success in Louisville. Gulch, stablemate of Bluegrass starter Leo Castelli, was written off by some after he finished out of the money in his 3-year-old debut. Well, Gulch has proven those skeptics wrong with victories in the Bayshore Stakes and here in the Wood Memorial. With a daring bit of race riding, Jose Santos changes course in mid-stretch, then uses all of his considerable strength to get Gulch up in the final stride. There are plenty of Derby question marks, all of whom could be major factors if they're on their game a week from Saturday. Bet Twice was so impressive when he won the Fountain of Youth Stakes, defeating Gone West and No More Flowers. Both of those colts came back with strong efforts, but Bet Twice didn't fire when fifth in the Florida Derby. Masterful Advocate became so popular that his followers in California called themselves Advocate's Army. They were out in force as Masterful Advocate scored easy victories, like this one in the San Rafael Stakes. But in the Santa Anita Derby, the Army found ex-Marine Charlie Whittingham and Temperate Sill too tough. They had beaten him by almost 16 lengths in their previous meetings. And then there's Capote. Last year's 2-year-old champion was forced to race on off tracks in both of his starts this year. Trainer D. Wayne Lucas is hoping a fast track on Derby Day will help Capote snap back to his 2-year-old form. He's already beaten most of the top Derby candidates. Well, the horses have formed a single line as they approach now the starting gate for the Bluegrass Stakes of 1987. Chelsea, there is Leo Castelli, and of course, Leroy Jolly has been one of the top trainers in the news of late.
He certainly has. This same combination, Jose Santos, Peter Brandt, and Leroy Jolly, gave us the win in the Wood Memorial last week with Gulch. And Leo Castelli has really got a lot of talent. He's wearing blinkers today for the first time, so we may see something a little bit different. Interestingly enough, Leroy Jolly's won the Bluegrass 3 times. He's won the Kentucky Derby twice, but his Bluegrass winners weren't his Kentucky Derby winners.
He is 3-1 right now on Leo Castelli right now. And the even money favorite in the diamonds, the white diamonds and the blue, that is Ali Sheba. Chris McCarron is up. And Chelsea, a handsome-looking son of Aladar.
Chris McCarron looking very relaxed with his feet out of the irons as he goes to the post. And Ali Sheba will certainly be relaxed in the early going. He doesn't have a lot of early speed. He's had a lot of setbacks, and I think we're going to see what he can really do this afternoon.
3-1, the Co's second choice is War, the number 2 horse. As you look at the check silks, the yellow and the blue, and that is Herb Macaulay up. And Tom Gentry has a lot of confidence in this horse he bought back at his own sale, of course, the Keeland sale here.
Right, well, he should. His 2 performances here at Keeland have just been top-notch. Colt, who was not all that consistent before he came here, if he runs back to the Lexington, he'll be very tough to beat today.
And a final look at our Budweiser long shot. Oh, there's Leo Castelli right now. We do want to tell you our Budweiser long shot, the 5-horse AB's Copy. There he is right there, is now at 8-1, and that's the longest odds in the field. They're getting ready to load up. Valid Prospect rounds them out. Let's go upstairs now to Dave Johnson.
You know, an interesting story is the musical saddles being played here. Jose Santos rides Leo Castelli. He was aboard Leo Castelli back for a maiden race at Belmont Park. He's very, very confident after the Wood. He couldn't talk about Gulch. He wanted to talk about Leo Castelli. And on the outside, Don Brumfield, who has never won this race. Churchill and Keeland favorite is on. They're on. From between horses, there goes War, there goes Valid Prospect. At the rail, Leo Castelli is racing third. Ali Sheba is in 4th position, and wide is AV's Copy. Now they move around the first turn, and it's War with Herb Macaulay on the inside, and Pat Day has Valid Prospect on the outside. Those two head-and-head, stride for stride. AV's Copy charges up a closer third. Ali Sheba is back into 4th position. Leo Castelli is the favorite as the quintet moves on to the backstretch. First quarter in 23 3/5 seconds. Valid Prospect from the outside. War at the rail. Those two head-and-head. Gap of a length and a half. AV's Copy is in 3rd position by a neck. And Chris McCarron has Ali Sheba, the favorite, on the rail in 4th. 3 back to the trailer, Leo Castelli. Half mile in 46 4 at the rail. And now War emerges with the lead by a neck. Valid Prospect on the outside drops back second. The favorite, Ali Sheba, is saving ground in 3rd. AV's Copy on the outside is 4th. And Leo Castelli, who's 5 lengths off the leader with 3/8 of a mile to the finish line. War and Macaulay in front by a length. Valid Prospect second. Now McCarron moves through on the inside with Ali Sheba, and Santos looks for racing room on the inside with Leo Castelli. Leo Castelli behind a wall of horses. 3/16 to go. War holding tough at the rail in front 3 parts of a length with Ali Sheba second. Now
Santos has Leo Castelli in gear on the outside, and down the stretch they come. From between horses, Ali Sheba on the inside, War coming back. Leo Castelli on the outside is third. Here's the wire, here's the finish. Oh, another photo finish with Ali Sheba between horses, I believe winning it by a neck. War along the inside was second, Leo Castelli finishing third, but that's a photo finish. The time on the board, 1:48.2, and a big race for all three of the first finishers, with Ali Sheba very impressive this afternoon. War hanging very gamely on the inside. Leo Castelli not with a big rush on the outside, but I'm sure learning a lot as they all get ready to go to Churchill Downs. But the Bluegrass Stake is a photo.
Thank you, Dave. That's going to be one of the fastest Bluegrasses in history. 1 second off of Round Table's 57 record, which is also the mile of the track record, 1:47.2. Ali Sheba, the unofficial winner. We'll be back in a moment. Back at Keeland, you see the numbers flashing. The inquiry sign is on the board here for the Bluegrass Stakes. In first is Ali Sheba, unofficial, still remember, the 4-horse, War. The second horse, number 2, and number 1, Leo Castelli, finishing third. Finishing in fourth place was number 3, Valid Prospect. Inquiry sign is on the board, and let's go to Dave Johnson with an ISO replay. Dave?
Well, we have what may have involved this inquiry. It's War on the front end, Herb McCauley wearing the yellow cap. Between horses, here comes Ali Sheba in the blue and white. On the outside is Leo Castelli. Now watch as they come through the stretch. McCarron switches from his left hand to the right hand, and at that point, either Ali Sheba came out or Leo Castelli came in. There was some contact, and that's what the stewards are looking at right now. That particular incident right there, which was about a 16th of a mile from home, and they're watching it from various angles, slow motion and regular, to see if anything did happen that impeded Leo Castelli's race for the wire. Unofficially, though, it's Ali Sheba by a long neck, with War at the rail second and Leo Castelli on the outside third. Chris?
Well, Dave, I can tell you that Herb McCauley, the rider of War, won one race. He beat Chris McCarron over to that telephone in a hurry. Chris McCarron then followed quickly, the rider of Ali Sheba. The inquiry sign is up. The first 3 horses are flashing here, and we'll come back hopefully with a decision at Keeland right after this. Well, there is a despondent Chris McCarron. They've just taken his horse down. Ali Sheba, the horse that seems to always be second, walking back with Jack Van Berg. The crowd roars as they've now made it official. An inquiry was called, and War has been placed first, Leo Castelli second, and Ali Sheba, first to the wire, has been dropped to third. Valid Prospect was fourth, and there is Herb McCauley up on War. And let's again go to Dave Johnson and see if Dave can tell us what happened here. Dave?
Since the horse, Ali Sheba, was placed behind Leo Castelli, I am assuming that that is the reason for the disqualification. We're watching the stretch drive as War on the inside, who's going to get it by virtue of the disqualification, is battling with Ali Sheba. Watch the whip there. There's another thing that I'm sure the stewards were looking at, and maybe that's what Herb McCauley was complaining about, as to whether unintentionally Chris McCarron touched a War with his stick through the stretch. There on the outside, he moves over. Leo Castelli, as a matter of fact, was in really some traffic problems there, and maybe even took a little bobble, but he regained himself, was able to finish third, and because Ali Sheba was placed behind the horse he bothered, unlucky Leo Castelli, who may have been best this afternoon, still gets the place spot by virtue of the DQ, but Ali Sheba, who was first under the wire, is dropped down to third in the official placing.
Well, as I told you, Dave, I tell you, it looked like, trying to find that one phone in the airport. Crowded around it were Herb McCauley with War, and then Chris McCarron made a dash for the phone to talk to the stewards with Ali Sheba. Jose Santos, I don't know if Jose ever did get a call in, but they were busy. The stewards took a close look at it, and when they made the decision, it was the 2-horse that went up and made it official. War, the 2-horse. Listen to the crowd. The crowd here is booing at Keeland as the decision is made there. It has been kind of a tough spring for Dwayne Lucas. He's been battered around coast to coast. And I know Dwayne has to have taken a big sigh of relief up in New York there as he's getting Capote ready, because Dwayne Lucas got a break today as War has gone into the winner's circle 2 times in a row now. He came into this race as the only stakes winner in the field, winning the Lexington, and he's come back, and with the help of an inquiry, War has been made the winner of the Bluegrass. There is Jeff Lucas there in the blue blazer trying to settle down his steed, as War has really done quite a job today and is on his way to Louisville as part of the Team Lucas trio that will challenge for the 113th Kentucky Derby. They have not put the prices up as yet. The two-horse War is listed first. Leo Castelli is 1. Ali Sheba 4th. And it was Valid Prospect. They've not made any prices up yet on the board. Take one more look against the dramatic stretch drive again. War is on the inside in the yellow and blue. Chris McCarron is in the middle with Ali Sheba. Here comes Leo Castelli up on the outside. And quite a drive. You see a bobble there. McCarron really driving along with it. And to the wire they come, and it is Ali Sheba under the wire first. But there was an inquiry, and when it was all over, it was War that was placed first. The 63rd running of the Bluegrass, with all the drama and excitement we expected, has been brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood Age, that distinctively clean, crisp taste that makes Budweiser the king of beers. For all that you do, this Bud's for you. The Thoroughbred Racing Associations, assuring the highest racing standards. Keeland, a charter member of the TRA. By Claiborne Farm for more than a century. Our great record reflects our